I've had my headphones on backwards for the last 10 minutes, and nobody in this room said a word. Great start, team. Welcome to episode 35 of the Joinprop podcast. I'm Ken, and that's Jessica.
I honestly just thought it was like a bold fashion choice. I wasn't going to be the one to tell you how to wear your own gear.
Yeah, well, hearing my own voice in the wrong ear it's an experience. We are clearly off to a flying start today. Anyway, for episode 35, we really need to get into the hangover. Like, the literal day after the party.
Wait, the prop trading hangover? Like, what happens when you realize staring at 5-minute charts for 14 hours a day is actually destroying your spine?
I mean, yes, obviously that too, but no. I'm talking about the exact moment, like the literal day after you pass a prop firm challenge. You know, the feeling, you hit the profit target, you get the congratulations email, you pop the champagne.
Right, because you're finally trading other people's money, which is the whole dream. You did it.
You did it. And now you need to put the champagne down because the game just got infinitely harder. Like, the reality of a funded account is brutal. It is a completely different rule book.
Wait, hold on. So you pass a hard part, you prove you can do it, and then they make the rules harder.
Yes, because, okay, wait, let me back up. When you are in the evaluation phase, right, the challenge phase, the firm is basically throwing a wide net. They want to see if you have potential to actually generate yield. So the rules are, they're relatively forgiving, all things considered.
Okay, forgiving how?
Like, you might have a 10%, maybe even a 12% maximum drawdown limit, depending on the firm.
Okay, so a decent buffer. If I'm paying for a 100-grand challenge, I can lose 10 grand before they kick me out.
Right. And the daily limits are usually a bit wider, too, maybe around 5 or 6%, giving your trades, like, actual room to breathe. But the second, and I mean the literal second, you sign that funding contract and they hand you the fine capital, that 10 or 12% max drawdown usually drops to 8%.
Wait, immediately?
Instantly. Sometimes 10, but often 8. And that daily drawdown limit, it is almost universally clamped down to a strict 5%.
No, that feels like a bait and switch, honestly. It's like if you pass the test driving a race car, you know, you show them you can handle the corners at 200 miles an hour, and then the second they hand you the keys to the actual car, they put a speed governor on it.
But it's not a race car. Look, they're handing you a vault of cash, or at least access to real risk. During the challenge, it's demo money. It's an audition in a simulator.
Yeah, but
once you're funded, whether they are A, booking you to a real market, or B, booking you and just taking the other side of your trades, it is pure risk management for the firm. Their risk tolerance drops to zero because it's their actual liability on the line.
But you already prove you can manage risk. That's the whole point of the evaluation. If my personal strategy works with a 10% buffer, and then you just arbitrarily shrink my buffer to 5% a day...
It's not arbitrary.
It is arbitrary to my strategy. You're changing the parameters of success after I already passed the test. Like, how is a trader supposed to trust a firm that literally changes the rules of the game the minute there's actual money on the line?
Because, look, the firm is a business. Joinprop, any of the partners, FTMO, Funded Next, whoever, they are not running a charity for retail traders.
Yeah.
They're giving you leverage you do not personally have.
I know they're a business, but...
If you have a $100,000 account, right, and you hit a 5% daily loss, that's 5,000 real dollars you just burned. Of their liability, you really expect them to just let you keep sliding down to minus 10 grand on day one just because you did well in a simulator last week.
I expect them to honor the conditions I was tested on. I mean, if I built a trading algorithm, right, and it's based on a 10% max drawdown with wider intraday swings, and then they just slice it in half, my algorithm is now fundamentally broken. It feels like a trick. It feels like they are setting you up to fail so they don't have to pay out.
It is capital preservation. Full stop. It's not a trip to protect your own wallet. The evaluation proves you can make profit. The funded stage proves you can protect their capital. Those are two totally different skill sets. Anybody can get lucky and make 10% in a week.
I wouldn't say anybody.
Very few people can manage risk tightly enough to not lose 5% in a day. That's just the reality.
I still say it's a bait and switch. You market the challenge with these big, friendly, wide-open rules, and then quietly slip the handcuffs on when they actually pass.
Well, the rules are, in a terms of service, nobody is hiding them. But, okay, wait, if you think the percentage drop is a bait and switch, you're missing the actual trap here. The percentage isn't even the real issue.
Okay, I'm listening. How much worse does it get?
The trap is how they measure that percentage once you're funded. In this whole deep dive of prop firm mechanics, this is the part that catches everyone. There are basically two types of drawdown mechanics: static and trailing.
Okay, static sounds safe, like it stays in one place.
Right, static is what most people logically assume is happening. You start with a $100,000 account. Your max drawdown is 10%. So your absolute account floor cannot drop below $90,000, period.
Makes sense.
You make $5,000 in profit, good for you. Your account is at $105,000, but your hard floor is still stuck at $90,000. You just bought yourself a massive 15 grand buffer.
Right. Which rewards you for winning. You build a cushion, you can take a breather, maybe take a slightly riskier setup because you earned that space.
Right. FTMO uses this model. FundedNext uses this on some of their specific programs. It's static from the initial balance. But then there is trailing drawdown. And trailing drawdown it's like a shadow that only grows longer but never, ever shrinks.
What do you mean never shrinks?
Okay, so with a trailing drawdown, the loss limit moves up with your highest equity balance. Say your max trailing drawdown is 8%. You start at 100,000. Your floor is 92,000.
Tracking so far.
Now, you have a great week. Your account goes up to $110,000. Your 8% max drawdown floor isn't 92,000 anymore. It trails your highest peak. So 8% of 110,000 is, what, 8,800? So your new floor is $101,200.
Wait, so even though I'm up 10 grand from where I started, if my account drops back to 101,000, which means I am still $1,000 in the green in pure profit, I lose the account.
Yep. You are breached, you lose the account. E8 funding uses an 8% trailing model. The Fivers use a 6 to 10% equity-based model, which acts similarly in certain flows. The safety net pulls tighter and tighter underneath you the better you do.
That is actively punishing traders for being successful. You're literally penalizing them for making money.
No, it's forcing traders to lock in profits and not let massive winners turn into massive losers. They don't want a trader who goes up 20 grand and then gives it all back the next day. They want consistency.
But wait, let me think about this. What about unrealized gains?
What do you mean?
Because, okay, let's say I'm in a trade. I buy gold. The CPI data drops, gold spikes. My open position is suddenly up like $5,000. But I haven't closed the trade yet. I haven't clicked the button. Does that shadow, that trailing drawdown, does it lock in at the peak of that open floating trade?
In most traditional trailing models, yes. It tracks your highest equity, not just your realized closed balance.
Oh my God.
Equity includes open floating profits. So if your trade spikes up $5,000 for 3 seconds, the trailing drawdown floor moves up with that spike. If the market then immediately reverses and you close the trade at break even, you just lost $5,000 of your drawdown buffer for a trade that made you $0.
That is insane. That is incredibly stressful. You're literally terrified to let your winners run because if they retrace even a little bit, they drag your execution floor up and then chop your head off.
It is brutal. It totally changes your psychology, which is why some firms are moving to what's called end-of-day tracking, or EOD, like Tradeify uses this.
Okay, EOD. How does that fix it?
With EOD, they ignore those wild intraday floating swings. They only calculate your drawdown based on your realized balance at 5 p.m. Eastern, or whatever the daily rollover time is.
Yeah.
It gives you room to actually let a trade breathe during the day without the shadow creeping up on you every time a 1-minute candle spikes.
See, EOD makes sense. That's a fair compromise. But the live intraday trailing equity drawdown, that just feels like they want you to fail. Like they're setting up laser tripwires in a hallway you have to walk down every single day blindfolded.
They don't want you to fail, but they do want you to trade with extreme discipline. And the problem with the tripwire isn't just that it's invisible, it's the explosive attached to it. Because we need to talk about what actually happens the moment you touch one of those wires.
The actual breach.
Yeah, the exact mechanism of a breach.
Okay, yeah. Like, what is that moment actually like? Did they call you? Is there a red flashing light on the dashboard?
There are no phone calls. There are no warnings. It is an immediate, automated execution. The prop firm system is connected to the trading platform like MT4, MT5, or CTrader via an API. And that API is pulling your equity in real time. We're talking down to the millisecond.
Oh, wow.
The exact fraction of a second your equity dips below that 5% daily limit or that trailing max limit. The algorithm triggers.
Boom.
Boom. Your account is instantly disabled. The platform just freezes. Every single open trade you have is market executed and forced closed immediately by the server.
That is terrifying.
They're just sitting there at your desk, staring at a screen that suddenly won't accept orders, watching the live market charts keep moving while you are completely, irrevocably locked out.
God, that sounds so cold.
It is ice cold. And then usually within about 2 minutes, your inbox pings. And it's this incredibly robotic, automated email. Dear trader, we regret to inform you that your account has breached the risk parameters. Your credentials have been revoked. No human touch. No better luck next time. Just a script shutting off your livelihood.
Okay, but wait. I've read on forums, like on Reddit, people talking about getting a soft breach, like a grace period. They say, oh, I went over by $100, but I emailed support and they let me keep the account. They just closed my trades for the day.
Yeah, let me shut that down right now. That is a myth.
A total myth, because I see people talking about it constantly in the community.
It is a complete myth for funded accounts. Okay, look. In the evaluation phase, sure. Very rarely, a firm might have a soft breach rule, where if you hit the daily loss limit on a challenge, they'd just lock you out until midnight. But the challenge account survives to fight another day. But once you are funded, zero tolerance. A breach is a breach. You are done.
But that's ridiculous. Think about the tech for a second. What if there's a platform glitch? What if there's a flash crash? Like, say, non-farm payrolls data comes out and the liquidity providers just pull all their orders.
Well, you shouldn't be trading during NFP.
But if you are, the order book empties out and the broker spreads widen to like 50 pips for 2 seconds. It hits your stop loss, but because there's no liquidity, you get massive slippage and it blows past your daily limit.
Yeah.
You're telling me an automated system just blindly terminates you for a broker feed issue and you have no recourse. There has to be manual review.
No, there doesn't. If you claim it was a glitch or abnormal slippage, the burden of proof is entirely on you. You have to take screenshots, record your screen, pull the raw tick data from the terminal, send it all to support, and basically beg them to reinstate you.
That's insane.
The firm's default position is always termination until proven otherwise.
But that's an inherently flawed system. You cannot rely 100% on automation when there are known technological flaws in retail trading platforms. Spreads gap all the time. Humans need to review this stuff before they pull the plug on someone's funded account.
Do you have any idea how many traders a firm like FTMO or Funded Next has? They have tens of thousands of funded traders globally. You think they can employ a floor of human risk managers to manually review every single margin call and drawdown breach across 50,000 accounts in real time? It is literally impossible. The automation is the only way the business model scales.
Then the business model is flawed. If you are making millions of dollars off challenge fees, you can afford to hire a risk desk to review edge cases. Hiding behind an algorithm when a trader's literal livelihood is on the line is a massive cop-out.
It's not a cop-out. It's the legally binding agreement you signed. You signed the terms of service that explicitly state the limits are automated, spread widening is part of normal market conditions, and the platform execution is final. If you don't like the automated risk desk, go trade your own money at a retail broker.
Oh, come on. That's a lazy argument. Just because it's in a 40-page terms of service PDF doesn't make it fair. If the spread artificially widens and takes out my stop loss, triggering a daily drawdown breach, that is not me being a bad trader. That is the firm's broker feed failing. And the trader pays the ultimate price for the firm's cheap liquidity provider.
And 99 times out of 100, when a trader claims the spread widened, they were actually just massively over-leveraged and trying to gamble during a high-impact news event like CPI, which they shouldn't have been doing anyway. The algorithm doesn't lie. It just measures equity.
The algorithm absolutely lies if the data feed it relies on is garbage.
Okay, look, we're not going to solve the man versus machine debate today. But the reality on the ground right now is the machine wins. You breach, you are terminated. And here's the part that really physically hurts. When that automated system force closes your account, any unrealized profits that were floating in other open trades? Gone.
Wait.
Yeah. Let's say you have 2 trades open. Trade A is a massive loser that drags your equity down and hits the 5% daily drawdown limit. The system triggers. It closes trade A. But it also force closes trade B, which happened to be up $2,000 at that exact moment.
But that money was in the account.
It was unrealized. You didn't close the trade. You didn't withdraw it. When the account is terminated, all pending balances, all floating profits are completely forfeited.
Are you serious?
You only keep the profits that you have already successfully withdrawn to your bank account on a payout day. Everything else evaporates back to the firm.
Okay, but, I mean, they at least refund your initial challenge fee, right? If you pass the challenge, you get funded. And then say you hit a bad streak and breach 3 days later, they take the funded account back, but surely they refund the hundreds of dollars you paid for the evaluation, since you didn't even get a payout.
No refunds post-funding. Zero.
You're joking.
I am not. Once you receive the funded account credentials, the firm has legally delivered their end of the bargain. You paid a fee for an evaluation process, and the reward for passing was a funded account. They gave you the funded account. Transaction complete. You breach the rules, you lose the account, and they keep the fee. Firms like Apex, they are incredibly strict about this. No resets, no refunds post-purchase, period.
Okay, that is a house always wins casino tactic. That is exactly what that is. You pay to play, you beat their rigged game, they hand you the money, and the second you stumble on one of these invisible laser tripwires, they pull the rug and keep your initial buy-in. It's a casino.
It is not a casino. You are trading their capital. Listen, you pay, what, $500 for a $100,000 challenge? Yeah. You pass, they give you access to a $100,000 account. You hit the 8% drawdown. You just lost $8,000 of their money, and you're complaining they won't give you your $500 back.
I'm complaining that the structure is designed to churn through people. They know most people are going to fail, so they pocket the evaluation fees as their actual revenue model.
Yes, a lot of people fail. But think about the alternative. Let's say you didn't use a prop firm. You opened a retail brokerage account with Owanda or whoever.
Yeah.
You deposit your own money, you take a bad trade, you get margin called, and you lose $8,000. You are now out $8,000 of your own hard-earned cash.
Okay, true, but...
In a prop firm, you lose the firm's money and you walk away with zero personal debt. You only lost your $500 access fee. That is the trade-off. You are buying downside protection.
It doesn't justify keeping the fee when they are the ones enforcing these razor-thin, algorithmic, trailing drawdown traps. They set the trap, you step in it, and they say, oops, sorry, thanks for the $500.
They didn't force you to take a bad trade.
They forced the parameters that made a normal trade a terminal offense.
Look, we can argue all day about whether the fee structure is fair, but this is the industry standard. No refunds. If you blow the funded account, you know what your only option is.
So I assume you get to open your wallet and pay them another $500 to start entirely from zero.
Bingo. You are almost always allowed to buy a brand new challenge at full price and start the entire evaluation phase over again. There's usually no permanent ban unless you were doing something fraudulent like arbitrage or using a banned high-frequency trading bot. Some places have, like, minor 10% discounts for retries, but generally you're back to square one day one of the challenge.
That is just deeply depressing, honestly.
Well, brace yourself, because if you think that's depressing, I have some statistics that are going to absolutely ruin your afternoon.
Oh, good, because I was just thinking this conversation wasn't quite bleak enough.
All right, I'm going to drop this on you. Of all the traders who successfully pass an evaluation, who get through the challenge, get the funded account, and get those live credentials, what percentage do you think ever actually receive a single payout, just one withdrawal?
I don't know. If they already passed the hard part, maybe like 40%, 30%?
Only about 7%.
Wait, 7%? 7, I need a second.
Yeah. Roughly 93% of traders who pass the evaluation blow their funded account before they ever make a single withdrawal.
How is that even statistically possible? If they are good enough to pass the evaluation, which is deliberately designed to be difficult, how do 93% of them suddenly forget how to trade the moment they get funded?
Because it's not a strategy problem, it's a psychological trap. Most funded traders who breach, they do it incredibly fast, usually within the first 30 to 60 days of getting funded.
Okay, but why? What is physically changing in their brain?
Remember we talked about at the very beginning, the evaluation phase rules. Traders use very aggressive risk to pass the challenge quickly. They over-leverage, they go for these massive home run trades because they want to hit that 10% profit target in 2 weeks and get funded.
Right. They build bad habits.
Right, exactly. They build these incredibly aggressive habits. Then they get the funded email, the champagne we talked about. They log in on Monday morning, and they keep using the exact same aggressive position sizing and the exact same aggressive habits. But now, the rules are tighter. The daily limit is 5% instead of whatever wide berth they gave themselves before.
So they hit a normal patch of variance, a totally standard losing streak, and because their position size is still huge, they hit the 5% daily wall immediately.
Yes, and it gets worse. Because Velatrade put out some fascinating data on this, and it shows that emotional and revenge trading contribute to 60 to 70% of all account breaches.
60 to 70%. So it's not the market outsmarting them. It's not the strategy failing.
No, it's purely behavioral. Think about the physiology of it. You take a loss on your shiny new funded account, that's a big loss because your sizing is too big. You look at your dashboard, you are now down 3% for the day. Your daily termination limit is 5%.
I'm getting stressed just hearing this.
Panic sets in. Cortisol floods your system. The amygdala in your brain literally hijacks your prefrontal cortex. The part of your brain that does math and logic just shuts down.
Oh, I see it. You feel the shadow closing in, you're in fight or flight.
Right. You are 2% away from losing the account you just spent a month trying to get and the $500 fee you paid. So what do? You don't step away. You revenge trade. You double your lot size, jump into a totally suboptimal setup because you just want to make that 3% back quickly to feel safe again and get dopamine back in your system. The trade goes against you, you hit the 5% wall, and the algorithm terminates you in 20 minutes.
Wow, that is a vicious psychological cycle. You're basically fighting your own panic response, and the machine doesn't care that you're panicking.
Yes. The statistics show it's behavioral, not strategic. It's people totally unraveling when they realize how tight the guardrails actually are, and they don't have the emotional regulation to handle it.
Okay, so how do the 7% survive? Because clearly some people are doing this for a living. If I'm funded, I don't want to blow up in 30 days. What's the literal first thing I do? How do I not become part of that 93% graveyard?
You have to completely, and I mean completely, overhaul your strategy the minute you get funded. You have to treat it like a real, boring, corporate risk management job. We call it the post-funding risk recalibration framework.
Catchy.
I know, I should trademark it. But seriously, step one is recalculating your maximum position size. Whatever lot size, whatever contract size you were trading during the challenge to hit those big profit targets, you need to cut it by 30 to 50% immediately.
Cut it in half, but then it's going to take me forever to make any money.
Welcome to professional trading. It is supposed to take time. If you don't cut your position size by at least 30 to 50%, a tiny sequence of 2 or 3 normal losses is going to trigger that 5% daily breach. You need to build a massive buffer. Think about the math. If you risk 1% per trade, 5 losers in a row kills you. If you risk 0.25% per trade, you need 20 losers in a row to hit your daily limit. You need to be trading so small that a losing streak is just a paper cut, not a decapitation.
Okay, so smaller lots, play the long game, survive the variance. What's step 2?
Step 2 is implementing a 2-tier stop-loss system.
Wait, like a stop loss on the account, not just the trade?
Both. The firm has their stop-loss on you, the 5% daily limit. That is the outer wall. If you touch that wall, you die. So you never, ever let the firm's system trigger. You build an inner wall, a personal stop-loss for the day.
Ah, like a circuit breaker before the main power grid blows.
Precisely. So if the firm's daily limit is 5%, you set a hard, non-negotiable personal stop at, say, 3%, or even 2.5%. If your account equity drops 3% in one day, you manually shut everything down. You close the platform.
But how do you enforce that on yourself? We just talked about how 70% of people revenge trade when they are down 3%. If I hit my personal stop, what's stopping me from just saying, I have 2% left before the firm fires me, let's roll the dice?
That's why you have to look at what the actual professionals do. According to funded trader markets, professional funded traders use only 50 to 60% of their allowed drawdown as a personal stop point. They build an enormous buffer. They have the discipline to walk away. Which brings us to step 3. The pause protocol.
The pause protocol. Sounds very sci-fi.
It's the only way to kill that emotional revenge trading stat. The rule is this. If your account equity drops by 2% in a single day, just 2%, you implement a mandatory 24-hour break.
24 hours? Like you don't trade the rest of the day.
You don't trade the rest of the day, and you don't trade the next morning. You physically walk away from the screens for a full 24 hours because your brain is compromised. After a 2% hit, your ego is bruised, you're annoyed, you're looking for revenge.
Right.
The market doesn't care about your feelings. If you stay at the screen, your amygdala takes over, you will likely over-leverage and hit that 5% wall.
So you basically have to put yourself in a timeout, like a toddler who threw a toy.
Yes, because traders acting out of emotion are toddlers throwing toys. Except the toy is a $100,000 funded account, and when it breaks, it's gone forever. The pause protocol forces your nervous system to reset, the cortisol leaves your bloodstream, you come back the next day, the emotional spike is gone, and you can look at the charts objectively again.
Honestly, listening to all this, well, I mean, the whole thing just sounds incredibly exhausting. The psychological toll of this must be immense.
It is, which is why only 7% make it to a payout.
My main takeaway from everything we've unpacked in this deep dive today is just passing the challenge isn't the finish line. Like,
Yeah.
everyone treats it like a graduation. They post the certificate on Twitter. They get all the likes. But it's not the finish line. It's literally just the starting line of a much harder, much tighter race where the track is covered in ice.
That is the perfect way to look at it. Prop trading is about continuous learning. It is about psychological resilience. It is not about having one lucky week of trading where you hit a 10% target.
Yeah.
Anyone can get lucky for a week. Can you manage risk every single day for a year without letting your ego blow up your account? That's the real test.
Yeah. Wow.
So I want to leave you with this to chew on. You look at all the data, the trailing drawdowns, the strict algorithms from FTMO and Apex, the automated API polling your equity every millisecond. The firm is using a machine to enforce risk. And we know 60 to 70% of human failures are emotional.
Right.
So think about this. What happens when retail traders start fully automating their own strategies with AI? When the trader's AI is fighting the prop firm's AI? If the biggest risk to your account is the human staring back at you in the monitor, maybe the future of surviving a prop firm is removing the human entirely. We'll leave you to chew on that.
Oof. AI wars. That's a little too real for a Tuesday.
Good. Let it sink in.
Yeah.
Anyway, next deep dive, we're going to back up a bit and dig into specific strategies for actually surviving that initial evaluation phase without losing your mind.
Assuming you figure out how to put your headphones on properly by then.
Hey, progress is nonlinear. I'm going to go fix my headphones now.
Yeah.
See ya.